Good evening, everyone. Uh, a very warm good evening to all of you. ESL is here with a fascinating session on idea generation. There is a slight change in the speaker Unfortunately, Puja Gera ma'am will not be joining us. Instead, we have Gorisha Srivastav ma'am. Ma'am, if you would like to introduce yourself.
All right. Hi everyone. I hope you guys can hear me and see me as well. Can anyone just give me a confirmation that I'm audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Yes, ma'am.
So, hi everyone. I am Gorisha, a fourth year student at IGDTUW, and I will be joining Microsoft. And the introduction part, I'll give more about it in the presentation that I have. I hope that's okay.
Yes, ma'am. Of course.
So I guess we can start. Everyone is here, and I hope everyone is excited about what I have today. So let me just share my screen. Just give me a second. All right. So I hope this is visible as well. Manu or someone could just confirm it once.
Yes, the screen is visible.
Great. Let's start.
Yeah, it's perfectly
So yeah.
excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah.
There's Sharma Shubham. He has been trying from since long time to join the meet. There might be Shubham. There might be a glitch from your side. So just check it out once.
तो ये बात नीट को बोलना कौन बोला है?
Yes, ma'am. You can continue.
All right, let's start. I hope everyone is settled and we can start with the session. So, today's session is all about how to be a human idea factory, and why this session is important. Let me just give you a glimpse of that as well. We, being a college student, we see people around us who win hackathons like anything, like they've won more than 20 hackathons, and then we say that some of the startup ideas come from the projects that we build. So how do we actually, generate ideas that could lead us to winning hackathons, or maybe one day starting our own hackathon? And that's all about what we are going to talk about in this session, the how to be a human idea factory. So let's begin with the session with on that note. So let me just briefly tell you about who I am. I did started in the initial part of the session, but then just in a more detailed way. So as I said, I'm Gorisha, a student, a fourth year student at IGDTW, and I got the gracious opportunity to intern at Microsoft this last year in July, and I'll be joining Microsoft this year as well as a full time employee. And apart from this, I have won more than 20 hackathons up till now. Let me just also give you a glimpse of what I've done up till now. Yeah, so I have won more than 20 hackathons, and I've given many sessions before that as well. And this, let me tell you, the vibe that I'm getting over here with, yeah, is anybody speaking? Yeah. So the vibe that I'm getting from this session is pretty good. The number of people that turned up is really high. So I'm very excited about this session. So let's begin with that. So in order to generate some great ideas, there are few steps that you need to follow. One thing about great ideas is that great ideas where do we find great ideas? So is it that we get some inspiration about something, or is it that we read something about some ideas, or how do we get them? So the first step to generate a great idea is to actually find the problem. So if you consider your surroundings every day, you are filled with plenty of opportunities where you can find ideas. So if I tell you how do I get my ideas, I have always been very attentive about what is there in my surroundings and what is happening around me. And that's how I've trained myself in such a way that my brain subconsciously search for things that need solution. So, I'll tell you a something, a secretive that I do in order to generate ideas. I have this WhatsApp group with my friends where I write down all the ideas that comes into my mind. And that actually helps me to build up piles of, different ideas that could be solved. So that's how I do things. If you guys could wait for a minute, somebody's knocking at my door. I'll just quickly go there. I'm so sorry about this. Hi guys, I'm so sorry for this goof up thing. Yeah, let me just continue from where I left. Yeah, so I was telling you about how I find ideas about myself, like around me. So the point over here is that I am crazy about finding ideas, but then I'm not asking you to be like me. But then the main point that you need to understand is that the first step of becoming a human idea factory is to understand that there are millions of problems around you that are waiting to be solved by people like you. So that's the main step, or the main uh, first step of finding a great idea and being a human idea factory. So with that, let me just end this slide by saying that, we being a student, we see people with startup ideas that turns out to be unicorns someday. We see some of the products in the market which are actually started in the basements of people's home. So those multi-million businesses, how do they start? It starts with the idea, and the idea comes from their surrounding. That's how you find an idea. That's how you find a problem to be solved. So let's move on to the next slide. Now that we know an idea, it is very important to understand what the stakeholders about that problem say about it. What do they feel about the problem? You get an idea because you face that particular problem, and you have a perception that is confined to your thinking. But somebody else who is also facing the exact same problem tells you the problem in their own entire different perspective. Talking to those people and understanding their story helps you to give deeper understanding of the problem itself, and that in turn helps you to improvise the idea. So it's very important to understand what the other people have to say, and that is how most of the bright ideas start. You face a problem, you talk to people who also face the same problem, you try to cover up all the different scenarios or different aspects of that particular problem, and as I said, that gives you a basic or better understanding of the problem that you're trying to solve. So let me just move on to the next thing. Yeah, I just missed one point over here. So once you've talked to the people around you, it's also important to understand that without actually having a discussion of what you've learned from other people, it is not going to be of any use to you. You have to brainstorm on what you've learned from other people. So yeah, once you've got the idea, once you've talked to people, you've taken their feedbacks on that particular problem, brainstorm on what exactly is the crux of the main problem. So moving on, the next step of generating a great idea or being a human idea factory is to think clearly about it. You've talked to people, you have collected plenty of data, you've collected a large amount of data about that problem, but then now you need to analyze that problem. Now you need to think of what is important to you and what is not. There can be two approaches to do that. So the first approach is that I like to call it POV Mad Lib. So it's about the saying which says X will need Y because Z, wherein X is your target audience, the people that for whom you're trying to build that particular product or the solution. Y represents the problem, the product that you're trying to build, the solution itself that you're trying to build. And Z is actually the need of that particular problem. So that's the POV Madlib idea or approach. And let me just give you an example to explain that as well. So let's say a student, this is something relatable to all of us. We are students. So a student would need an assignment reminder bot, because we know that we have plenty of assignments, quizzes, and tests and practicals going on, and it is very obvious that we'll forget about the important things that we need to work on. So that's how I realized that the students would need an assignment reminder bot, because people forget about it. So that's the X will need Y because Z. That's one approach to think clearly about the idea. The other approach can be very useful during the brainstorming sessions. That I like to call HMW. How might we? So you when you're brainstorming about an idea, ask questions like, how might we use a particular tech stack that we have, or how might we build a solution to remind students about their assignments, if I consider the example that I took, or how might we ensure that the solution is scalable enough for the 2000 students in my university. These questions, when you ask to yourself or the team with which you are working on the product, these questions give you the better understanding of what needs to be done and what can be discarded or what is not important for you. So the how might we approach always helps. And personally, if you ask me, I like the second approach more. But then it can vary with people on whether they want to go with the first approach or the second approach. So that's up to you. Now, up till now, we've covered three steps. You've found the problem, you've talked to people who face this problem and collected their views and data and feedback from them. You've thought about your product. Now comes the actual part, wherein you build the solution. You know the problem, you've understood the problem, you've clearly thought of what needs to be done. Now it's time to put your hands into the working portion, or you can say get your hands dirty, right? So for that, there are a few things that you need to work on. You need to, I divide this portion in three parts: find a team, tech stack, and then go crazy. Let's go into the details of each of these one by one. So the first thing is that you need to have a great team with you. So by great, I don't say that you need people who are prodigies or people who can do things in like a minute or something like that. But with a great team, I mean to say that you should have a team which so you need to have a team which can cover up every aspect of your entire application or the product that you're trying to build. You see, in every project has different aspects to it. The front end part, the UI and UX designing part, the back end part, the different scenarios. So in your team, you need to have people who can take up one sections of your project, so that you are supposed to do what you do the best. So let's say I decide to work on a project. Let's say the assignment reminder bot itself. If I think that I am going to work on this entire project by myself, that's like being a great, like a big idiot. Why? Because, building an entire solution requires a lot of things. And if I think that I'll be able to handle it, it would be a huge load on my head, because as a student, I need to do a lot of other stuff as well. So in order to develop this project, I would want people who can take different aspects of it. But then how do you find the team? We have people around us, we have students around us, but then how do we approach them to be in their team or to ask them to come into our team? Let me just give you an example. I would want you to take 30 seconds to read this text. This is like a WhatsApp message text that a person sends another person in order to be in their team. So do you guys find anything wrong with this text? It says, is there any team which I can join for hackathons? I don't have a team, but by the way, I'm a MERN dev. But see, this is a two-liner text wherein you are asking people to help you, and you're just giving a very small glimpse of what you are. So this is not a very strong way to approach people to join their team or ask them to join your team. Let me give you an idea of how you can do it. So this is a sample example that I used to use in second year. Second year. So in this entire message, you can see three different parts. The first part talks about what actually a person can do. So I have written the previous experiences or examples that I've worked on. Then the second part talks about uh, what exactly are you looking into other people for the team, right? As I said, a project requires a lot of different scenarios, like a lot of different uh, aspects of the project, and you need people to work on those aspects. So that's what the second portion of my message talks about. And lastly, it's always great to end a message with a fun fact about yourself. You don't want to seem someone who's like a professor who writes a very big message to you. You're not writing a formal email to anyone. So you need to make it a little fun so that the person who's reading it, like you guys are reading it, you find something funny about me. That's how you form relations with them. So that's always a good thing to add a fun fact about it. You can do anything, you can add anything. And people who are in, I believe there would be students in second year or first year right now in the session. So if you are looking for a team, this is a way that you can find people to work with. So if you want, you are free to take screenshots as well. So moving on, this is the way that I found the team that I am working with right now. So when I was in second year, there were two students in my batch whom I wanted to work with, and that's how this is a sample of how I approached them. And then you won't believe, but those two students, we three students have worked on so many projects, 7, 8, 9 projects, and we've won more than 20 hackathons up till now. And those two people are people who are the closest to me right now. So that's something that I could, you can take away from me. If you find great people to work with, probably you'll be able to work on anything with them. So moving on, now you have a team, but you need to decide which tech stack you need for your application. And for that, you need to understand two things. First is, when you actually talk to the stakeholders of your problem, you need to understand what do they exactly need. Do they need a web application which can run on their desktops and then help them with that particular task? Or do they need a mobile application? As in, there are some products which can't be used on their desktops. Let me give you an example. Yeah, let us say that you are trying to build a location tracking device for Alzheimer's patients. Like, this is a very an idea which is of great use for people who suffer from Alzheimer's. People tend to forget about what they're doing, and then they tend to flee away from their house. So it's always a good idea to have a location tracker for people by the location tracker for the people who take care of them. So for this particular example, it is obvious that you would not require a web application that runs on the laptop or your desktop, obviously, because not every time you open up your laptop, the caretaker would open up their laptop or desktop in order to find out where the patient is or where the person in help is exactly. They would need a phone application wherein with just one click on their application, they can see it in their phone itself. So you need to understand what exactly your user requires. All right, that's the first step. Then once you've done that, you need to weigh your options. You've decided that this is what the user requires. Now this is what needs to be developed. But now you know that there are plenty of options with which you can fulfill a particular feature. Let's say you are trying to build up a database. So you can ask yourself what kind of data I would be dealing with. Is it going to be structured, unstructured, or semi-structured? Will I need relations or non-relational database would suffice? Or what other integrations I need to do in my database? So these are a few questions that you can ask yourself in order to decide which is the best option for your product. Moving on, now it is very important while you are trying to decide your tech stack, it's important that you have idea of everything around you. So how do you do that? There are a lot of resources on internet right now, or certification methods, or different websites that can help you, that can actually help you to understand a particular thing and then work on that. So if I talk about myself, I am someone who loves about machine learning. I most of my projects are about machine learning. So when I was in second year, I used to look up for different things that I can work on and how do I accomplish a task in machine learning. So if I talk about ML, I believe that Azure ML Studio is one of the great place to work on with ML models. How did I come to know this? Come to this conclusion that what I did was I explored several options on how can we how can I develop ML models? And when I explore different things, that's how I realized that ML Studio by Azure is the best option. So you need to explore a lot of things. You can go for training and certifications. You can go for blogs about different things. You can learn it from various courses that go about everywhere. So you just need to explore a lot of things. That's the main gist. Moving on. Now, we come to a very important slide for me, or you'd say something that I feel very close to. So now you have a team. You know which tech stack you need to work on. This is the point where you need to go crazy. You have everything in your hand. You have a team. You have the tech stack. You have everything. Just you need to put in yourself into developing that project. You need to brainstorm it. You need to work together with your team. You need to have the will that I will solve this problem at any point, at any cost. And sometimes it's also important that sometimes you need to become a robot in order to complete a project. For example, I'll tell you. Recently, my team won one of the hackathons by Dr. Reddy, and the prize for that hackathon was 1.5 lakhs for the first prize, and we were the first winners. So in that project, my team was working 24/7. Like in the entire week, we were actually working on developing each and every feature. And there were days when we were actually going to our bed at 4 and getting up at 7. So 3 hours sleep in that duration just to develop our product. So at times you need to become a robot so that you get things that you want for your product. So that's a suggestion that I'd give you guys as well. Go crazy about your solution. If you know that this is a solution that could help a lot of people, that could actually solve a problem, you need to go crazy about it if you want to see it at a certain level. If you want to see that product actually coming into the rescue for people. So you need to go crazy about it. Next is something very important. This particular slide, whatever things that I'm about to tell you guys in this particular slide, these are the things that would be helpful not just for the idea generation part, but in general as well. So I need all of you to ask this particular question to yourself. Are you using the tool, or is the tool using you? What do I mean by that? So I want all of you to go back to today's morning, and what happened, think about it. Your alarm rang, I'm so sorry about this. Your alarm rang, you groaned about waking up in the morning. It's winter time, nobody wants to get out of their bed, but you groaned about it. And then most of us would have been something to do in the morning or in the day, in the entire day. So we decide we can do two things. You can say that out of all the people who are there can be two kinds of people. first kind of people who got out of their bed, brushed their teeth, freshened up, took a shower, and then got yourself positive affirmations, and then went to the room and did everything that you were supposed to do. The other kind of people, you would have scrolled for reels for 30 minutes, thinking about I'm not still yet up. I need to freshen up myself by watching reels. Probably I'm not in the mood of getting out of the bed right now. Then you brush your teeth and then you wash your phone again, so that you can read the notifications that you have throughout the day. Then during the while you were taking showers and you were having your breakfast, you were listening to a few songs, and then you again went back to watching a few reels, because we need our quota of getting freshen up. So you did that, and then after that, once you reached your table where you had to work, you again opened your phone in order to check if I have any email or any WhatsApp messages or anything. So that's what you did. So, do you realize the problem that happened over here? Although everything that you did right now, watching reels and listening to songs and watching your looking at your emails and notifications, everything was important so that you can get up in the morning. But in that process, do you realize that you have wasted a lot of time? This particular time that you wasted over here could have been utilized to build a particular tool. So that's a question that you need to ask. Are you using the tool, or is the tool using you? You could have used the phone, the tool over here, to develop something, to build something, or create something. Rather, the tool was using you so that you can go through all those different things, songs, notifications, and reels. So this is something, as someone who believes in the fact of or idea of becoming a human idea factory, you need to understand, is the tool using you, or are you using the tool? Moving on, we have a very important thing. It's something that almost everybody would tell you: think out of the box. But what exactly is this box? What does it mean? Where did this come from? Who is inside the box? So we as students have heard this particular phrase so many times throughout our school life, throughout our college life. But you need to understand what this is, what this particular box is. This box represents your comfort zone, not your abilities. Let me reiterate onto this. This box is the comfort zone and not the bounds of our abilities. When you're telling your brain that this is the only thing that you can do, you're actually restricting yourself from growing more. When you say that I can do only this much, that's the point where you yourself are refraining yourself from doing greater things, from doing things that you can achieve even more. So that's the important thing to understand. You know why innovations doesn't happen inside the box? It is because we are comfortable and we are well adjusted around our surroundings. We tend to relax and go with the flow. Are you getting it? So you need to break that thinking of yourself. You need to say, no, this is not the only thing that I can work on, or this is not the only thing that I can do. I can do a lot of things. That's something you need to repeat in your mind again and again. I can do a lot of things other than that, other than the things I know. So you need to break that stigma that only this is what I can do. So if we are on the verge of finishing up this session, if I take you through the entire slides that I talked about today, I want you guys to let this sink in yourself. Every day, try to get 1 inch out of your comfort zone. Just stretch yourself a little more. This much would work. An inch would work. Just that. That's all. And then there would be a time where you would feel that your comfort zone is anything. Anything that you want to do is your comfort zone. You don't need to refrain yourself from anything. And then there would be a time when creative and innovative ideas would just pop up in your mind and do the things that you want to do. So that is something that I want you guys to do after this session or by tomorrow or any time that you feel like. Just try to increase the size of the comfort zone that you've created around yourself. That's all. And that's with this I come to the end part of this session. I hope I've tried to cover I've tried to help you guys understand what is required to be an idea factory. So with this I end over here. This is the QR code where you can follow me. This QR code contains my Twitter handle, my LinkedIn ID, my Instagram ID. Follow me there and see, I am a person who is always open to talk to people. So if you feel like that you need some support, some help, some guidance, or you feel like I need to share this idea with someone, do that with me. So I would want you guys to scan this QR code, visit the link tree that I've added over here, and probably you guys can follow me if you want. That's totally up to you. I hope I was able to help you guys understand what it means to be an idea factory and what is required to be one. So with this, I have completed everything that I wanted to cover up. I am open to question answers if you guys want, and let's see what can be done before that.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was really a informative session. So, guys, everyone present over here, so you can ask your questions and your doubts regarding what ma'am has presented over here one by one. So please unmute yourself one by one, and you can ask your questions. So first, raise up your hand, and just then you can go for the quick Q&A session.
And if you guys feel shy that you don't want to come up and talk to me by unmuting yourself, feel free to type your things in the chat. I'll try to answer there as well. But let me tell you, I'll cover up this one particular point very quickly. Let me tell you, don't be shy of anything. Why do you need to be shy? We as students, we think that people would judge us on what I say. In the entire session that I took, there were so many mistakes that I did. I forgot about what I was supposed to say in this particular slide. But then I know that whatever I'll speak would be something that I want to help you guys with. So even if I forgot about a few things that I wanted to add in the slides, I tried my level best to cover up everything. So had I been shy about it, that, oh no, I've missed this thing, and probably these people will think that Gorisha doesn't know anything, then I would not have had that confidence to come up on the stage on this particular meet and then help you guys with this particular thing. So don't be shy of anything, because even if people do judge you, how does it matter to you? So yeah.
Shivansh, you can go and unmute yourself. Shivansh, you can just unmute yourself and you can.
Ma'am, how could I generate QR code like this?
Am I audible?
Yeah, for this you can visit any website, or you will just need to write generate QR code for a particular link, and on Google you will get a lot of slides or a lot of websites where you can generate such a QR code.
Okay, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Ma'am, as you mentioned in the meet that we should always try to get outside the comfort zone, like 1 inch only. So, ma'am, can you please give some examples, like how can we get out, like small steps? How can we take to get out of the comfort zone, like, with an example?
Yeah. So when I say that you need to get out of your comfort zone by stretching your comfort zone 1 inch, I mean to say that, let's take my example. I am someone, I mentioned in the session, I'm someone who loves machine learning. So when I started to learn about machine learning, my entire focus was into machine learning only. I was into understanding how the mathematics behind ML works and all that stuff. But then as I realized that I have gained a good command on ML and I know how to do things in ML, I thought of, is this the final point where I had to reach? Is this the point where I was supposed to end my journey with ML? I said no. I tried to take up other things which revolves around ML. What did I do? I knew that these are the particular models that with which I can work on in a particular project. But then I thought of, okay, I have developed a ML model. How do I integrate it in a website? And that day I watched about 10 to 15 YouTube videos, and I realized that integrating an ML model is quite easy. It's not tough. So that day I learned something more than what I could do earlier. That's how I stretch my comfort zone, because earlier I used to think that only developing the ML model was the thing for me. That's all I needed to do. But then I tried कि यार इसके अलावा मैं क्या कर I hope speaking in Hindi is okay with everyone, or else I can continue in English. So I thought of, is this the only thing that I'm supposed to do? And that day I realized, no, I can do a lot of more things. And I went to YouTube, I watched a few videos, and that's how I did it. That was that 1 inch for me. And then the next time I tried to look up other things, and that's how I did it. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Got it. Thank you.
Great.
Ma'am, it would be really great if you could tell about something about your startup you're working in. Uh,
I am not working on a startup right now. I did not say that I'm working on a startup. I just took an example.
yeah, like it was just an example, but being an example as well, like if you know that you have some idea, but you get something like whether that idea has a potential or not, because that's the first thing that everyone comes in mind, and everyone is asking that whether we should go with that idea or not. Being an entrepreneur also, if you are going in a startup, that's the first initial step.
Absolutely, yeah. So in one of my slides, I talked about talk to the stakeholders. So when you the idea of adding that slide was to answer this particular question only. So when you have an idea, it's very important to understand how viable this idea is. Is it something that is going to end in the next few years, or is it something that could be used for decades by the users, like WhatsApp and Instagram and Facebook? So, in order to understand how potential your idea is, it is important that you talk to the people who are going to use this particular product. Talk to them, have an understanding on what their stand is on this particular idea, and that helps you to gain some idea on what needs to be done in this particular idea, or what can be added to the idea. So that's how you realize. I'll take an example again, a particular example that I worked on, a particular project that I worked on. So one of my project was to see, I'll have to give you some backstory to this. I worked on a project where my ML models would help the designers to understand how good looking their visual posters are. So the posters were supposed to be about medicines. So as I said, what did I do? I tried to talk to the designers who develop such posters itself. I asked them what are the things that a designer requires for designing such posters, and that gave me an insight on what my ML model needs to do. And that particular project, I am not going to lie about it, that particular project made me win the Dr. Reddy's hackathon that I talked about. So that's how I realized that this particular idea does have the potential, and we won the hackathon with that. So I hope that answers your question, that talking to the people who are going to use your product is the way to tell you the potential about your project or your idea.
As you said that you just like we should talk to more people, what are their response, but that's also a thing that creates a kind of confusion in that uh, like suppose I am having an idea, we should go in, suppose let's say X way, right? And once that's because you are doing on it an assumption, and you got the idea by seeing what the problem what I have faced on, or my friends or my colleagues have faced that. Once I'm talking to the person and they have something different perspective regarding an idea, and let's say they thinks in a Y form, so that that's create a confusion, and that also leads down the self-confidence that whether I should go with that idea or not. So do you think that confusion also comes when you talk to the more people, like just because obviously we should do a survey by doing those things, we should talk, otherwise we can't be responsible, but once we are getting into the mass, it also generates a confusion as well. So do you agree with that? Like,
Yeah, I do totally agree with that, because when uh, there's this particular saying in Hindi. I don't remember it exactly, but the meaning of that particular saying is, when people will talk about something, a lot of things will come out of it. So I don't remember the exact saying, but then the meaning of that is कि आप जब लोगों से बात करते हो तो अलग अलग चीजें उसके बारे में निकल के आती हैं. And as you said, it is very right that confusions are bound to come when you do take up such things. But then I also talked about this thing in my presentation, that once you've collected this data, it is now your responsibility to analyze that data, think about it, what needs to be done. All right. So, see, when you started to think about a particular idea, you had an agenda about it. Then you talked to a lot of people, you added a lot of things, and that agenda उसके साथ दो तीन चीजें और add हो गई. Now it's your responsibility to understand which is more important and which is not. It also depends on how what was the response for that particular thing among the people. So let's say your agenda was A, and something called an agenda B came up from the discussion that you had with different people, and that causes a confusion for you. But you also need to understand how many people actually talked about the agenda B. Was it a large amount of people that talked about it? That makes it important. So that needs to be added in your solution. But only a few, if on the other hand, only a few people talked about it, that makes that helps you to understand that this is something of less relevance or less importance. So you are the better judge of what needs to be added and what not, but then do it on the basis of facts and figures, on the basis of the data that you've collected. And that in that way, you can reduce that confusion. I'll not say to zero, but to a very low level. That would understanding different aspects about an idea, and then understanding the relevance of those aspects helps you to figure out or reduce that confusion. I hope that helps. That answers your question.
yeah, yeah, it really makes sense that motive drives you and the ideas is being the other step. Thank you
Yes,
so much for your answer. Thank you, ma'am.
I hope I was able to help you.
Yeah, yeah. So, guys, any other further questions, you can just go and unmute yourself and ask. Anyone, just you can just unmute yourself or raise your hand.
Hello.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, I'm Salmas. I have a question that how should we determine that which idea we should pursue and which idea should we let it go? So,
Yeah,
how
so
do you,
I
yes,
yeah yeah so
yes,
I did
yes.
talk about this in the presentation as well. So you need to understand the relevance of the idea. Let me give you an example. So the example that I took in my presentation about assignment reminder bot is very relevant for all the students. All right, but generating let's say some other example. Let me just think of right now. Let's say generating a tool which could generate answers for a question. This is again something relevant for the students, but something which is not relevant for the student and working on that particular project for the student makes makes it clear that the second option is not the right. Just give me a minute. Give me a minute. I'm getting a call. So sorry about that. So, coming back to the question that you asked, you need to understand the relevance of the idea with respect to the agenda of the idea. So, if something which is not relevant for the students, then working on that particular idea is not helpful for you. But something which is of the relevance for majority of the students, it's actually something that you should work on. So you need to, as I said in one of my previous slides, you need to understand the relevance of the idea. All right.
Yes.
I hope that answers a little bit.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Any more further questions? Okay then. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us for this awesome session.
Thank you so much. The pleasure was mine because to be able to address around 130 students all together is actually a great thing, because in mostly in online sessions you don't expect a lot of people to come up and attend your session. So that was really great to see so many people, and the kind of discussion that I had in the last 10 minutes was really great, because when people like me who like to speak on stage and who like to tell people about what they're doing and what their ideas are, it is always a great thing when people also ask you questions and prompts you with different things. So Shahnawaz's question was a great question, because we as a student do not understand that this project is important or not. So that is a great question. And then the person before Shahnawaz, he also had a very great point, and the way he was um, answering back for the things that I talked about was again a great thing. So yeah, thank you so much for giving me this experience wherein people actually like to come up for online sessions and then discuss their views as well.
Also, thank you for joining us for at a very short notice.
Yeah,
I hope people here should have learned about something about idea generation, and will surely try to implement them for hackathons, tech world, or in their life as well.
Yeah. So yeah, also just ending up everything, I am a person who loves to speak, so you would have figured out right now. But then I did add my QR code. If you want to follow me on Twitter, my handle is rgorisha. If you want to follow me on LinkedIn or connect with me on LinkedIn, it's gorisha r srivastav, and on Instagram it's r_gorisha. So do follow me there as well.
Everyone over here, this QR will be shared you again. You can just take a screenshot of this QR. Otherwise, we'll be shortly sending you the QR of this. So, thank you so much, ma'am, again for joining the session at such a short notice. It
Thank
was
you
really
so
a great session.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
All right. Bye bye, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.